Now, the Prime Minister says he has been guided by the science. He warned that without action, we could see more deaths in the second wave of COVID than we saw in the first. Let's talk to Senior Clinical Lecturer at the University of Exeter, Bharat Pankhania, who's in Bath. Look, good to see you this morning. It's a shame we're talking under these circumstances yet again. Look, the figures, the graphs, the stats, the charts last night in that news conference were pretty scary. Let's be honest. I mean, are you going along with what we heard last night?
Well, we had no choice. And this is something that Prime Minister Johnson ought to say, that we have no choice and we're sorry, because both of those things are important in that the sorry is, if we are to take our people together from November onwards, then you need to say certain things which we should have done, we didn't do quite right. So I'm referring to sort out from now on, between now and lifting the lockdown second time, the testing, the tracing, and the important advice to members of the public that you have to do your bit of infection control yourselves. You must do your bit about wearing your masks properly and making sure you don't generate new cases.
We were told this isn't the same as the first lockdown, though. I mean, the key difference is schools, colleges and universities. I mean, what's your take on them remaining open?
Well, the evidence for little children being infectious is sort of not cast iron. So putting that to one side, with regards to older children and universities, I think that we should do remote teaching as much as is possible, because the less human contact interactions we have, the better. And therefore, I'm minded to say that really we ought to consider older children and colleges, universities as do your remote teaching. And with respect to schools also, rotate it, half at school, half by remote teaching.
Is there a sense, particularly with universities, where we know we've seen some pretty significant spikes at some universities, would there be a danger in bringing people back? I mean, this sort of mass migration issue?
No, Stephen, you are absolutely right. And therefore, I would advise that there shouldn't be an uncontrolled return back to home. It has to be very measured, very carefully conducted about how the university students make their way back invariably to parents and grandparents. And also, one more thing I wanted to add is people are refusing to grasp the nettle, our senior politicians, I mean, about Christmas. Come on, we have a lockdown coming in November, and do you honestly believe that all will be well in December? I don't think so. So it's better to say it now that, look, Christmas 2020 cannot carry on like it always has.
Yeah, it struck me as odd, I've got to be honest, that there's been so much sort of focus around having Christmas. I know we all want to have a nice Christmas time, who doesn't? But, you think it would be useful, perhaps even for the sort of the national psyche, to get it written off now?
Well, you have to, because you have to be honest. And I cannot see a scientific way whereby a month's closure is suddenly going to open the gates and say, we can now have Christmas. That is not being serious and genuine with our people. And furthermore, I have become very, very concerned about what happens in January after everybody has met up over the Christmas period. So you have to prepare now and say, if you are meeting, you will do the following. And furthermore, it cannot be Christmas as normal. It just cannot. We've got to be honest.
What are we to make then of this month-long lockdown then in terms of time? I mean, presumably they're hoping to have a rapid effect on the R number and see that represented by the end of the lockdown so they can claim some element of success. But is 4 weeks going to be enough?
I don't think so. And my reasons are that we've got a lot of background number of cases. And furthermore, we are not in total lockdown. We've got universities, colleges, schools open. That also implies that other economic activities will also be going on. And therefore, I do not think that we can bring the R number down very rapidly. It's not possible, not in a 4-week time.
I mean, there's always questions. We've had it before about how we come out of lockdown, and obviously there's talk about returning to the tier system and all this, it sounds very complicated. But is there any point of actually coming out, from your perspective, any point of coming out of lockdown whilst the R number still seems to be above 1?
Well, it's difficult, and the difficulty is that economics has to run as well. My view is you sort out the health, and the economy will also sort itself out. If you are ill, dying, or dead, you can't sort the economy out. And one thing that you can do in the 1 month break that we're being given is invest a lot in giving local authorities, or get groups of local authorities together to create their own local dynamic contact tracing. I am in charge of one contact tracing team, and I assure our viewers that we do a really good dynamic job, because we know the lie of the land, we know exactly where the danger points are, and we never go home until we are satisfied that all is well. So it's those sort of measures which we can do, we must do.
Bharat Pankhania, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.